Hi, I'm Fasted Fred. 3 days without eating sounds crazy, right? But I have a question that's even more intriguing and frightening. What if those 3 days weren't for self-torture, but for you to experience firsthand how your body changes when it's finally not being consumed by food all day? That's why 72-hour fasting is becoming so popular. Many people describe it as a reset. A lighter stomach, a quieter mind, more consistent energy, and most surprisingly, cravings no longer constantly control them. It sounds like magic, but it's actually a fairly logical biological reaction where insulin levels drop. The body switches from using sugar to using fat, and certain cellular repair and cleanup mechanisms are prioritized during prolonged energy deprivation. The problem is that many people just follow the trend, do it haphazardly, then experience headaches, exhaustion, dizziness, or break the fast incorrectly, ultimately concluding that fasting is dangerous or unsuitable. Today, I'm going to give you a clear, easy to understand roadmap. What your body typically goes through in each stage of a 72-hour fast. What sensations are normal? What are signs you're doing something wrong? 3 mistakes that ruin the benefits, and the smoothest way to break fast while maintaining the results. Before we get to the roadmap, I'll share a real experience so you understand. I'm not just spouting theory. The first time I tried a long fast, I wasn't reckless. I tried it because I was tired of being controlled by my eating habits every day, tired of constantly wondering what to eat next, tired of fluctuating energy levels, tired of easily upset stomachs. I wanted a period of peace for my body to rebalance and to test something very human, whether I could still control myself. The night before, I was just as scared as you. Scared of hunger, scared of losing energy, scared of my mind racing while working. But what helped me persevere wasn't an iron will. It's about knowing in advance which doors will appear. I know which stages are the hardest, which will be easier. I know how to rehydrate and replenish minerals so I don't collapse. I know how to finish without ruining my efforts. And that's what I want to give you now. A coherent journey, so that after listening, you have a map in your head. Now, let's start with the core principle. 72-hour fasting is a fuel transition. First, the body uses energy from the most recent meal. Then it uses glycogen, which is the rapid reserve in the liver. Then it gradually increases the use of fat as fuel. When you understand that you're transitioning fuel, you won't panic because of hunger. You'll see it as a gear shift, rather than a sign that you're about to collapse. The first stage is the first few hours after the last meal. This phase is usually easy. The body is still processing the food just eaten. Insulin is still working to deliver energy to the cells. You might crave food, but mostly it's habitual craving. The first stage is when you want to chew, to feel something in your mouth. This is where many people fail. Not because they're hungry, but because of psychological factors. You sit around, you think about food, you make yourself crave it. Getting through this stage is simple. Drink water regularly. Do your normal activities. Avoid food-related content, and don't turn it into a mental battle all morning. The second stage usually becomes clearer from midday to almost a full day. This is the most difficult stage for many people, because glycogen in the liver starts to decrease, and the body isn't yet used to using fat consistently. At this point, you might feel stronger hunger pangs, especially if you're used to eating many meals. And the brain starts negotiating. It will say, just eat a little. Eat something small. What's the point of doing this? I want you to remember one very important thing to reduce fear. Hunger pangs usually come and go in waves. They rarely increase in intensity indefinitely. If you get through a wave, you'll find it subsides on its own. When you feel intensely hungry, do 3 things before deciding on anything else. Drink water, add unsweetened electrolytes if you have them, and walk around lightly for a few minutes. Many hunger pangs at this stage are accompanied by mineral deficiencies and restlessness, so replenishing them properly will reduce the symptoms. As the day progresses, many people begin to feel their body's rhythm shift. Insulin is usually lower than when you've been eating continuously, and low insulin is a condition for the body to open up its fat stores. You might notice this by more consistent energy levels and less mental fogginess compared to peak hunger. I emphasize, for scientific accuracy and to avoid superstition, not everyone experiences it exactly the same way. Individual factors, sleep patterns, previous fasting habits, and daily activity levels all play a significant role. But most people will find that the anxiety lessens after the first day. On the second day, the body usually enters a deeper state of using fat as its primary fuel source, commonly known as ketosis. You don't need to remember the word, just remember one sentence. Day 2 is when your body starts running more smoothly with a larger fuel tank. This is why many people say day 2 is easier than day 1. And you'll notice something very interesting. The cravings change. You crave fewer junk snacks, fewer impulsive sweet cravings. Instead, you crave real food like rice, eggs, meat, soup, simple things. This usually indicates that the body is no longer craving fast-acting glucose and is beginning to demand real nutrients. From day 2 onwards, autophagy is often mentioned, the process by which cells increase their cleanup and recycling when energy is depleted for an extended period. I'll explain it correctly and clearly. Autophagy isn't limited to long fasting. Short fasting, like daily fasting, can still activate it to some extent. But long fasting usually allows this process to intensify. You can imagine short fasting as a quick cleanup, while long fasting is like a deeper cleanup. I'm not promising any miraculous healing, as the effect varies from person to person, and science doesn't allow me to make wild claims. But what's reasonable and consistent with current knowledge is, when insulin is low, energy from food isn't continuously supplied, so the body has to adapt and prioritize certain maintenance and repair mechanisms over normal. That's why many people feel a reset. By the third day, many people describe feeling lighter, less bloated, with less bloating, and clearer minds than they expected. But let me be honest, so you don't have false expectations. Not everyone experiences the ultimate feeling. Some feel cold, slightly tired, or mildly uncomfortable. And this difference is usually related to 3 things: electrolytes, sleep, and activity level. So, what determines the success of the 72-hour experience isn't your ability to tolerate hunger, but whether you can avoid 3 mistakes that ruin the benefits. The first mistake is not having a water and electrolyte plan. When insulin levels drop, the body usually excretes more sodium and water. If you don't replenish enough, you're likely to experience headaches, dizziness, fatigue, mild palpitations, or cramps. Many people mistake this for hunger, but in reality, it's often a lack of salt and minerals. Water alone is sometimes not enough. Unsweetened electrolytes help you stay more stable. This isn't a trick. It's the foundation for a safe and comfortable long fast. The second mistake is overtraining, especially on day 2. Many people feel fine and want to take advantage of it by training intensely, running long distances, and lifting heavy weights. But a long fast is like the body adjusting and transitioning. If you push yourself too hard, you increase physiological stress. Cortisol levels rise, you get tired, and you're more likely to break the fast by overeating. The wise choice is light exercise, walking, stretching, normal activities. Light but consistent exercise helps you reach your goal. The third mistake is breaking the fast too drastically. This is where many people lose their sense of reset in just one meal. After 72 hours, the digestive system is like it's just been in a long sleep. If you break the fast with sugary juices, cakes, noodles, pasta, or too many fast carbs, insulin will spike, and you'll easily feel bloated, tired, and uncomfortable. You've just kept insulin low for 3 days, and then you suddenly pull it up. The feeling of lightness and alertness can disappear immediately, and you'll feel lethargic. So, how do you break the fast correctly in an easy-to-understand and easy-to-do way? I've given you 3 steps. Just remember the order. Step 1 is a light, warm meal to gradually awaken your digestive system. A bowl of light soup or broth. Some people use bone broth. It does end the fast, but the goal is a smooth and safe ending, without shock. Step 2 is a small meal, prioritizing protein and healthy fats. Eggs, fish, meat, avocado. Eat moderately, chew slowly, and don't rush because you deserve it. Step 3 is to wait a while before eating a full meal, and avoid having fast carbs as the first bite. Carbs aren't bad. It's just that after a long fast, you should introduce them gradually to avoid an insulin spike. Now, I want to summarize in a clear and concise way. 72-hour fasting isn't a test of willpower. It's a journey of refueling and lowering insulin. The reset people talk about isn't magic. It's the feeling of your body being less pulled up and down by eating, your mind becoming less noisy, and you viewing hunger with more calmness. And sometimes, the biggest benefit is regaining confidence that your body can function well if you support it properly. I also want to emphasize something important for scientific accuracy and safety. If you have underlying health conditions, are taking medication that affects blood sugar, are pregnant, or have a history of eating disorders, you should consult your doctor before trying a long fast. Safety is more important than trends. And if you've never fasted before, you don't need to jump straight into 72 hours. You can start with shorter fasts to allow your body to adjust to the rhythm before gradually increasing the duration. Now, here's the part I want you to participate in. If you're considering 72 hours, what are your biggest fears? Extreme hunger, headaches, dizziness, muscle loss, or how to break the fast smoothly? Comment with one thing that concerns you most, and I'll make a follow-up video that answers that specific and easy-to-apply question. Thank you for watching this far. I wish you calmness, understanding, and safety on any fasting journey you undertake. See you in the next video.